And welcome to the Chico New Thought Center. I am Rev Duchess, and we are about to we're moving into this giant month of 5 Sundays with the sounds of summer, and we began with grad. Last week it was rad, and today it's oh, what a good idea. Where did you get that? Oh, Dad, what? Why, I don't know what made me think of that. So this is my little homage to Father's Day, because people say they often give dads ties on Father's Day. I don't know. Is that how it works? But the funnest part about this was asking Don, would you help me tie my tie? And the opportunity we got for a different motor skill learning concept of how to tie a tie on someone else, I had no clue. So this is, anyway, so thank you, Don. His tie, I borrowed his tie for this. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, the choir sang, as a part of their finale, they sang Hakuna Matata. Well, in honor of today, we're singing Kahuna Matata, the big kahuna, the dad. And as a result of that, I would like, we have a little gift for all the men, and whether thou art a biological father or not, if you would please stand, the ushers have something to gift to you. And while they're doing that, I'm going to have to explain. So we thought because you nourish us, and because we're all going to the picnic, you might need this. So when you get it, I'll have to explain it, because if you might want to read it, and then I can explain it when you get your. And if there are any ladies here who had, like my mom was a single mom, she was both mom and dad. If you want to stand up and get one, hello, Daddy. So yes, if you've been both mother, father, you can do this. So what it says on here, you may sit down once you get your little gift. What it says on here, I'm attached, girl. It says, who's your D? Okay, so when Polly and I were creating this little thing, this was Polly's idea and her gift, we were talking about what were we going to say in it? We only get a certain amount of letters and all of that, and we were tossing around ideas, and she said, well, who's your daddy? And she went, oh, we can't do that. And I went, that's exactly what we have to do. So, it was going to be, who's your daddy? But somehow in the typing and the transmission to the label company, it just came out, who's your D? And she was so distraught by that, and we obviously didn't have time to reorder and have new labels sent. So I said, don't worry, I'll make it work. So who's your D? Who's your daddy? Duh, it's Father's Day. How about who's your Duchess? Who's your diva? Oh, we have a few identifying themselves. Who's your darling? And then, it is Sunday. Who's your divine? Okay? So when you take this out, or you go to the picnic today and people are going, they're going to go, who's your D? You can go, oh, you silly, you don't know, do you? You may choose your D and figure out who your D is today. So whether your D today is your diva, your darling, your duchess, or your daddy, you may allow that to embrace you as we move forward to talking about dad. So I'm going to begin by one of the things before we even my Thursday morning Science of Mind magazine circle, who is like, the coolest thing on the planet. I'm so glad that it's what we do, and I don't know why everyone isn't there. We were reading page 98 of this off the magazine, Dr. James Rouse. So we have about 5 copies in the bookstore if you still want it after I talk about this. So the little article, we read these articles, and what are my favorites? Like show tunes, Starbucks, words. Oh my God. There was a whole new word that none of us had ever seen or heard before, and we got all excited about it. So I'm going to read to you from this idea. So the word is eudaimonia. Isn't that gorgeous? Eudaimonia. Eudaman. Eudaimon. So today on Father's Day, that's why I thought it was word, because eudaimon. Eudaman. Eudaimonia. So I'm going to read to you that this, what he said, you have to go to the etymology, because all of us, and some of us are also like Scrabble and Words with Friends people, so it was like, how do you spell that? What does it mean? Blah, blah, blah. You're immediately getting it. So the etymology of eudaimonia is an abstract noun derived from the adjective eudaimon, or eudaimon. The adjective is in turn a compound word comprised of eu, meaning well, Greek origin, by the way, and daemon, which is a sort of guardian spirit. So, and daemon was a word that Don taught me. Therefore, to be a eudaimon is to live well, protected, and looked after by a benevolent spirit. Eudaimon. So page 98, this extremely thing. So this guy, he's like a chiropractor or health guy too, as well as a religious science person. And he's talking about wanting to start a whole movement of eudaimonia. Eudaimonia. Yeah, I mean, we could redo this. So we could have this, and he says, the beauty and the blessing of each of these expressions of self-love and self-care is that they lead to an experience of eudaimonia, a deep sense of noble purpose, happiness, and flourishing, with the root word being daemon. So we get to do this. Now, he went on to say, because I don't want you to think this is frivolous, because I think we could join him in consciousness and intention, and all the people who are reading the magazine, starting a whole movement of eudaimonia, of bliss and noble purpose and service, with a brand new title that nobody can spell. A study out of the University of California in LA in the Journal of the National Academy of Sciences People. That's really what it says. Who would name themselves the Academy of Sciences people, concluded that people who have a sense of eudaimonia have stronger immunity and lower inflammation. Now, I'm not going to get into a health thing, but I know that many of us are aware of that, and that seems to be the new thing about releasing inflammation from the body temple in order to stave off illness and disease and to be healthy and happier. So the results should encourage us to embrace the noble way of being, to further reduce inflammation, to increase health, wellness, and longevity, and that people who were in a state of eudaimonia lived in a state of flourishing, noble purpose that they found in their genes. Which brings me back to Father's Day. Eudaimonia. So, we never postpone joy in our household, and we don't want to, do this. So but I am going to ask our esteemed musical guest, Mr. Loomis, to come up and be the eudaimon that I'd like to draw the winning ticket, so that we don't postpone joy and we give away prizes right here. So I don't have a, drum roll. Give me a drum roll, you guys. Thank you. Sir, if you would be so kind. You wouldn't be me.
Ticket.
The winner is Jerry Miller. Oh my goodness, Ms. Miller, our pianist for the day. Ooh! Eudaimon. Or you can give it to Eudaimon. Thank you. Hey, nice work. Nice work, Jim. You're welcome. Nice. Thank you, Rod. That was lovely. So, there we go. Eudaimonia. Just think about that. How many of you would like to be eudaimoniacs? Isn't this like cool? Like, we're the eudaimoniacist. And it will confound people. When you say, now, instead of saying you go to a religious science church, we are the spiritual center of eudaimonists. Then people will be so they won't stop and go, what? They'd be embarrassed that they don't know what that means. And they'll go, oh, really? What do you believe in? Well, we believe in health and longevity and joy and noble purpose and service. And they go, oh, that's cool. Yeah, eudaimonia. Come on down. I don't know how to do it. Wait. I don't know how to do that. Dude, I also want to acknowledge, because Udemand, that UdaTube is that this is the 1-year anniversary that a year ago on Father's Day we began recording and broadcasting on YouTube. 1 year today. So Udemand, because you set that up, Mr. Don Converse, with a videotape, and you sang that day. And we have been serving people on cyberspace, and we have a lot of even our congregants who have either been traveling or, at home, needing to be at home for a while, who listen in, plus people. We get comments from people. Sometimes it's like a little unnerving because I don't even think about that somebody could be like watching me right now. That's a little unnerving. And then we get nice comments, and then it's like, suck in the tummy, stand with the shoulders down, and then it's like, oh, yes, welcome to eudaimonia. So somebody who clicks in, they're going to go, eudaimonia, what? Yeah. But 1 year on YouTube, so yay for us and for what we do. So I'm moving us, okay. I have to share a quote from Mark Twain, because being Father's Day, I thought it was a wonderful one. When I was a boy of 14, my father was ignorant, and I could hardly stand to be around the old man. But then I got to be 21, and I was astonished at how much the old man had learned. And I just thought, it has no bearing on my talk today, but I just thought it was a great quote. I love Mark Twain, and so we're going that. So if last year, I know we're going to talk about fathers. It's kind of inherent in there. And last year was the year, not only did we start YouTube, but it was the year I bared my soul about not having a father, and all the, kind of that opening that angst and stuff right in front of all of you, and you were all very kind about that. So we don't have to revisit that this year. And I'm acknowledging the fatherness, but what I was struck by was actually the quote and part of the intention of what Connie's meditation was this morning, which I know not everybody was here for. Do you happen to have that quote available while I'm vamping here? Thank you, ma'am. I wanted that first one.
It's right there.
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. So she was referencing a popular new book by Dr. Shafali Sabari. Oh, somebody knew her. The Conscious Parent. Thank you, Oprah, for bringing our information and consciousness to the world. And there was a quote that she said in talking about being a parent, being a conscious parent. And if we're talking about parenting today, obviously we're talking about the masculine side, the father side. And Dr. Sabari said, it's crucial you realize you aren't raising a mini-me, but a spirit throbbing with its own signature.
I love it.
Isn't that extraordinary? And that is something that I'm thrilled that this wonderful woman has brought this into the right timing and place to put it into a book about this expression. But the consciousness behind this is what we teach and preach. It is what we believe about not only conscious parenting of our little ones that are not mini-me's, little replications of the mother or the father in the family, but it's about the conscious parenting, and this is where I'm going with it, of who we are. Because some of us, as I just admitted, didn't have a parent, a father, let alone letting him be conscious. He wasn't even present. I mean, present and conscious are usually the same thing, but I mean physically present. And some of us didn't have conscious mothers and or fathers. So we get to a place in our adult life that we kind of stumble our way into a eudaimonia center, and we are finding ways to heal ourselves, frankly. To heal physically, emotionally, financially, in any of those concepts. So to me, this is really about conscious parenting of ourselves. And where we get to look at it this month, as opposed to last month with Mother's Day, is about conscious parenting from that idea of father, which is the masculine side. And what I know and love about everything that we teach and preach is that we teach about the wholeness and the oneness, so you've often heard me say at the end of a prayer, Mother, Father, God. Because many of us were raised in traditional religions where Father, up here, high, holy, white beard maybe, I don't know, sandals, I don't know, but some God thing with a long beard was the thing, the Father. And even in all of our language, our literature, our spiritual books, it's about the Father within. And then you add, as you stay on a metaphysical path, you add spiritual books about the mother side, the feminine side as well. And so we know there's a balance, and yet we are raised with that concept of masculinity being the authority, the father. capital F, the Father within, the Father above, Heavenly Father. And we have to, no, we don't have to do anything. I'm inviting you to embrace that concept of the Father within being who you are, even if your gender is female. As I said when we passed out the little water bottles, that many of the women, particularly, of other generations, they were both mother and father. When you think about whether it was your lifetime or even during the wars, unfortunately that's a plural, during wars where the mother was at home and had to serve as both mother and father in traditional roles. In the household, perhaps in the workplace. And so we ignore that. We used to think of that as a fluke. And we often now can look at the male side, the masculine side, as being expressive of the feminine. That there are fathers, there are stay-at-home fathers who are taking care of their children. And when they're at home, I don't think they're pretending to be mom in little aprons and baking cookies, although they might be baking cookies. I don't think they're trying to pretend to be moms. They are the dads, they are the fathers with a mothering approach to what they're doing. So we get to do all of it. We get to embrace all of it. And so where we might be charged is to look at our background, our training, our conditioning about how we think about father, about what that concept means to each of us. And when we think about, it was quite a poetic quote. It's amusing about you're not raising a mini-me. Even Khalil Gibran talks about it in his poem about children. Remember that these are not your children. They came through you to be who they are. So even Gibran was talking about the idea that the children are byproducts of your consciousness, sometimes byproducts of your biological beings, and yet they are here on their own, that they have their own destiny, their own path, and as you know this theme for this year, their own passion and purpose to be revealed. And part of our charge as parents would be to reveal that, to endorse, support, coach, be there as each of the children reveal that. But the part I liked about the quote was, not raising a mini-me, but a spirit throbbing with its own signature. Wow. Now, you may have had a father with a rather harsh, bold 57-point font signature. And so for you, the idea of father or Father's Day might have a whole different dynamic. And some of you may have had the luxury or the privilege of growing up with a father. Maybe you were daddy's little girl, you were a princess, and everything was pink and fun and sweet and kind and loving and caring. Or the signature, as in my case, it was kind of like, you know how they used to do X for signatures because somebody didn't know how to spell? There was no signature, but I guess there was somewhere, either genetically or in consciousness, but I get to reveal it, but I don't have a way to match it to know. So there's a plus and a minus to that. I have no preconceived ideas and conditions about what father was like and what it should outpicture out here. I get to choose. I get to create the father image that I want. Now, as I said last year, I grew up on all those television fathers, so I had lots of those. And then I've been blessed in the world around me with strong, wonderful men who corrected any of my misinterpretation and understanding about that. So where might you have a misunderstanding, misinterpretation, or old conditioning about a father image that we need to tweak today? That we maybe want to take out of the throbbing signature into a pulsating heart signature of what it means to be a father. So I was thinking about the idea of the father within our head and the father within, and I remembered that the sign, how many of you, I know it's not Christmas, we're 6 months away, but the movie It's a Wonderful Life? Well, I watch it over and over and over and over again. And, you know, kids watch movies over and over and over again. I keep watching that one over and over again. And there's a scene when George Bailey is worried about the druggist and the mistake the pharmacist put the poison in the drug, and he doesn't know what to do. Because the druggist, his boss, has sent him out to take it to the family, and he knows it's poison, and he doesn't know what to do. So he goes to Bailey Building and Loan, because he wants to see his dad, wants to see that man he loves, trusts as the authority, to say, what do I do? What can I do with this? But his dad's really, really busy because it's really, Potter's putting the screws on him again. But he's really, really busy, so he doesn't know what to do. But I did that backwards. So before he goes to see his dad at Bailey Building and Loan, he doesn't know what to do. And in the drugstore, he looks up and there's a sign with a picture of a guy and it said, "Ask Dad, he knows." So that's what sends him to go to see his authority, his father. And I jumped the story by saying his dad wasn't available to help him, so he had to do something on his own. He had to turn within, even though he was a kid and didn't realize the process of going on. He had to turn within and listen to his own intelligence and wisdom as to how to proceed. That is the Father within. For all of us. That infinite wisdom, the divine intelligence, that wholeness, the one-mindedness, that is within each and every one of us. I don't care about our age. I don't care about our gender. We all have that access of the Father, Mother within, of that wisdom. George Bailey was able to do that. We're able to do that. We get to do that in tuning in to hearing the still small voice, or perhaps the dulcet tone and the throbbing signature voice of the Father within to reveal the guidance and direction that we want. But what we know, particularly in this theme of the sounds of summer, what we know is that oftentimes it's like a radio receiver sometimes in your head. You know that feeling where you're hearing 57 channels all at once? And sometimes it's even staticky. And sometimes while you're trying to hear something that sounds like a news report, and then that's staticky, and then you've got, some country music playing over here and music in there, and it's like a cacophony of sound sometimes. Am I the only one that has that station? You're all being very quiet and like, And I'm thinking, are you just being kind? I don't know about you, but the monkey mind in the committee, but it's sometimes, there was a Simon and Garfunkel song in the 60s, I can't remember the name of it, but at the very end, what it had was about 5 or 6 different tracks and channels playing in it. And sometimes that's what it's like in my head. And that's usually the time when I need to be still and quiet and turn to the Father, Mother, God within, but I often don't, because then what you do is it's like a soundboard, and you're turning up the volume sound to try and hear the one you want to hear and turning down the other one, and then suddenly you get a sound and it does that feedback. You know what it does when it gets in the mic and it goes Wah! At you, and you don't hear it, or you sound like Charlie Brown's mother. You're asking something in your head, and you're just like, that's not what I'm going for. I am going for hearing the wisdom, the signature of the Father, Mother, God within. So we, as religious scientists, as eudaimoniacs, I think I want a T-shirt or something. We have to, maybe a website, or a Facebook page, eudaimonia. Okay, sorry, I do think out loud. I'm an only child, and I talk to myself. I try not to do it in public, but it happens. So if we get the ability and the support and the inspiration by which we turn inside into that receiver channel within here, and remember that we control that. I don't mean control, but we are the master of those knobs. If you all want a little tour, we can take you into the booth. Carl and Ted can show you. There's adjustments. You don't turn it all the way up to 11 as you did in Spinal Tap. You get to sometimes turn off and turn on different speakers and sounds to embellish. That we are in charge of that. And what we get to do is, while we're setting up our little radio or a broadcast, that's a better word, a broadcast system for ourselves, then what we need to do is have an antenna. Do they still have physical antennas? I don't know. But I remember rabbit ears and antennas that, that would have. But what I want you to do, and maybe you can do it in a meditation, because I know you're all meditating and have a spiritual practice, don't you? You do, by golly, I know that you do. So when you're in your spiritual practice and you are meditating and you are communing with the divine, I'd like it to, if you're visual, see that there's like this kind of like our screen that comes down. I want an antenna to come up. Now, it doesn't have to be rabbit ears, and you don't have to stand behind someone. You can visualize any antenna you want. It could look like a channel, a shaft of white light. It could look like a beanstalk into the heavens. Whatever calls to you, your creative idea, let it be the antenna that connects you to the infinite wisdom of the Father within. And so as you're sitting there in your meditation, and the antenna moves up, when you go to meditate, visualize that for a while. It really, I mean, sometimes the pictures help. You don't have to do it every time if you start getting that, because once you get that antenna up there and you get connected and you have service and reception, it will be there. And then much like if something goes wrong or there's a storm outside, but there's a storm inside, you might need to come back to a meditative place and crank it back up. Reboot it, so to speak, to connect. But you have the opportunity to create an antenna into the infinite wisdom of the universe, which includes the Father, Mother, God, intelligence. And in so doing, once you do that, it's kind of like, I guess, getting a dish or something, one of those, or soul or something. You're connected to that. You get to choose your channels. So you connect in, and if suddenly then you're walking around and you're hearing some of those talk radios and some of those people that are like telling you what to do and what's wrong with the country and how bad this is going to be and who's coming to get you and why it's bad and where all the negativity and the fear and some of that stuff can really be tough to take. You know what? You get to choose a different channel. You don't have to listen to that. And today you might be in the mood for classical. Oh, a little Vivaldi. Oh, a little Mozart. Let it, ooh. And then you can just, lilt the day. Or maybe you've got projects ahead of you, so you want some, rock and roll. You want to roll up your sleeves. You want to clean out the garage. You have some rock and roll. Or you've got Karen Drucker, Michael Gott, or any of our beautiful New Thought musicians. You can tune into that so that that's playing. That becomes your background music. That becomes your muzak. And if you want, then you can turn into some of the positive talk radio stations, like on Hay House. So I'm giving that as an example. I don't mean you literally have to tune into it, but you can. And then you're listening to affirmations. Maybe you're listening to some old minister somewhere in Chico, California, talking to you about being in a state of eudaimonia. That it is within your grasp, your power, your choice to be filled with that consciousness of God 24/7. Maybe you're listening to that. And I think that's how and why, they came up with that WWJD, or in my case, WWED. What would Ernest do? What would Jesus do? What would they say? Haven't you often, when you've been in a dilemma, thought about, what would my dad do in this case? Or what would my mom do? Or what would Rev Duchess say or do? When the channels are all static and cacophonous and you don't know what to do, and you go, oh, wait a minute, what would she, oh, that's right. Breathe, be present, get mindful, center yourself, and move forward. Oh, and then the reception clears up. You are at choice. You are the one that is sitting at that reception. You know what I mean. The channels, the knobs, that system within your head, the antenna is up, you are open to that wisdom, and then you get to add the soundtrack of your life. And you can have music playing while you have the wisdom coming in, while you have the channel of prosperity, the prosperity channel, or you have the health channel. We have all those physical channels on cable television now with the things that just kind of, right at you with all the sales and the ads and the words, and there's so much. There's so much. But if you get the concept that I'm trying to express today, perhaps not as eloquently as usual, if you get the concept that you get to handpick your channels in this receiver, you may not be able to do it on your cable at home, but you can do it here, then you do tune into the health channel. You do tune into the prosperity channel. You do turn into the passion channel that's probably playing Bolero in the background, but it's about the passion of your life so that you can hear your throbbing signature. Because I don't know if you know it. You may not even be aware of it, and yet some of us have been trying to foist it on the little mini-me's and the children in our lives, or that for whom we're in charge, that we foster, and we're trying to make them little mini-me's. And one of the reasons why? It's because we didn't listen to ourselves. So if we outpicture in them, then we can see it. Then maybe we can change it. Then maybe we can embellish it. Maybe then we can give them permission to do the things that we didn't have permission to do. But we don't need little mini-me's for that, because I guarantee you have at least a dozen mini-me's in your head. the one that was you when you were born, and a child of the universe just so happy to be here. And then the one that maybe a parent, a relative started to shape and form and throb through you. And then there's the one you probably got on the schoolyard, probably got from teachers or friends, and then as you grew up, and then there was one probably later on when you went into junior high and high school and college and then the world. So you have a whole bunch of little mini-me's in here based on mini-me's of all of them out there. Does that make sense? So you have a cacophony in this receiver broadcasting station called you that you need to take charge of and reformat, recalibrate, and choose the channels that you want. The theme this month is the sounds of summer. This is the chance to do it so that the sounds that you are hearing in your head reflect the sounds and the desire of your heart and your soul. So that what you speak on your lips does become honeyed words out here, and that you hear them back in here. And if you walk by somebody and you don't like that conversation, click. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to say, "How dare you come and taint my world? What stupidity you have. You are so ignoramus." No, no, no. Oh, yeah, bye-bye. And then over here you find the volume or the channel that you want that sings to who you are, your dreams, your goals, your visions, your me, and turn that up and maybe even put it on 24/7 so that you have it. Or you can put it on timer if you want to, sleep at night and let the universe tell you things through your dreams, then program it to wake you up along with a coffee machine. The point being, you are in charge. And you still have, even though you're a grown-up, even though your father in the biological real world may not even be here anymore, you have the ability to tune into that wisdom from within 24/7. And that's part of the gift and the birthing and the Father, that majestic quality of the Father knows best. The Father within you knows best. And if you were fortunate enough to have a father on this side of the planet in the veil that was there to teach, to guide, support you, how blessed you were to be able to let that enrich and enhance the Father within, because then that person is echoing the wisdom that is within you. I don't doubt for a second that there isn't a father on the planet that didn't or doesn't want for his children that well-being. So we get to do that. E.E. Cummings says, it takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. It takes courage. And oftentimes we think about the men in our lives as being the strong ones, the courageous ones. And I know as a female I grew up with that men were stronger, wiser, they had the better jobs, they got the biggest piece of the pie or the turkey leg. There were all kinds of things that we were taught or conditioned, or I was, about men. And I'm so grateful to have moved into a philosophy and a teaching that talks about equality. That the strength is not allocated to just one section of the population, nor is the tenderness. That it's a combination, and how wonderful that we get to look at every male in our lives as a combination of the whole of the Father, Mother, God that they are, and embrace and give thanks and appreciate their strengths as we get to embrace and give thanks and appreciate our strengths, some of which we got from our biological father, all of which we got from our spiritual father. So to me, that's what this is about. The opportunity to really recognize that Father concept within, to love the human Father, to embrace the Divine Father, and to tune into the throbbing signature of your own being by which you were birthed, mother and father, birthed onto this planet to know and be. That's, to me, what it's about. That's my eudaimonia. Eudaimonia. What we are is God's gift to us. What we become is our gift to God. So, if you don't have a father by whom to give a tie or a watch today, you do have the ability to give the gift to the Father within of who you truly are, listening to your own station, your music, your throbbing signature by which to express the wholeness of being that you were called here to be, birthed to be, with passion and purpose in your life. Let's pray. So breathe in. You hear that all the time, but it really is about breathing in and letting your body surrender into the moment so that you have the conscious choice to tune into the mindfulness station. The antenna goes up and begins to receive the wisdom of the ethers. You feel connected, and you are sitting in this chair, in this room, on this planet, and you are whole. You are mindful and open and receptive, willing to receive the wisdom of the universe. So now that we have cranked up the antenna, we have opened up our mind and heart, we have set the intention, we can now affirm, as I do in the first person, so that you can affirm it along if you like, that there is only the life of God, one life. And within that one life, it is masculine, it is feminine, it is the animal nature, it is the wholeness and totality of being. That one life is my life. I call that life God, Spirit, the Presence, the Holy One. And I know and affirm that I am one with that, for that is what created me. Therefore, I am a part of that creation of life. I am the beloved in whom God, the Creator, is well pleased, or I wouldn't be here. So now that I am here, I breathe in the field of all potentiality, all possibility, all the magic and the miracles, and I open myself. My channel begins to connect with my unique and individual channel and path and purpose in life. And whatever it is, if I embellish it with a little sound over here from the channel of abundance, and maybe I add a little mix of the channel of love. But I want the foundation, the baseline, to be a channel of health, vitality, wholeness. And then I just add a little extra sound, and the channel of joy sprinkles itself through any and all of the channels of the infinite that come through me, and that is me, and by which I give, receive, and broadcast as my being. Yes. So take a moment in the stillness right now and plug in a specific channel, the one that you want. I don't have to foist that on you. You know the channel that you want to connect with. Open the antenna, turn on the knob, plug in the key, open your channel. And if you don't have a name for it, maybe it's the eudaimonia channel. Because by which that sense of a guardian spirit, the daemon of your life, brings forth the noble purpose of who you are, and then moves into the creative law of mind and begins to outpicture, manifest, and demonstrate. Yes. So now sit for a second again in the stillness, breathing in, being mindful, feeling your antenna up and open with clear reception, no static. Clarity, purpose. And sit back in that comfy chair of now, knowing that you are at the controls of this broadcast station called you. And give thanks for that. And give thanks for the Father that helped bring you onto this planet to know that, and give thanks for the Father within that reminds you of that every single day. We are so blessed. And so it is from that gratitude that I can now release this service and this spiritual mind treatment, this affirmative prayer. And I release it into the creative law. I turn it over to the Father, Mother, God within so that it can be handled while I'm busy grooving and listening to those stations within my broadcast system that is playing the music and the signature pieces that are uniquely me. The soundtrack of my life. I claim it. I accept it. I program it. I hit the button. It is now set. Just like on your car, you can preset a station, preset this eudaimonia station. Tune in whenever you like, because you know now that collectively the one mind of God joined together in this service to set this intention, to accept it, and to let it be. It is released. It is done. Please join me as we say, and so it is, and so I am, and so we are. Amen. Eudaimon.